Lily's dream. The smell of burnt toast hung thick in the air, a familiar aroma in the tiny, cramped kitchen. Lily May scraped the blackened edges off with a butter knife, humming a tuneless melody. Across the small, chipped formica table, Daisy giggled, her bright eyes sparkling. "Mama, you always burn the toast a little bit." Lily May winked. "Adds character, sugarplum. Besides, you know Mr. Henderson always says a little bit of char is good for the constitution." Daisy, all of 7 years old, wrinkled her nose. "Mr. Henderson says a lot of things. He also says the moon is made of cheese." Lily May chuckled, handing Daisy a slice of the salvaged toast, slathered with strawberry jam. "Well, he's a character, that's for sure. Now eat up. Big day at school today, isn't it? Miss Eleanor told me you were working on your painting for the spring fair." Daisy nodded enthusiastically, her mouth full. "It's a picture of a horse, Mama. A palomino. I want to win first prize." Lily May's heart swelled. Daisy's artistic talent was a bright spot in their often dreary lives. "I bet you will, sweetheart. You're the best artist I know." She wished, not for the first time, that she could afford proper art supplies for Daisy, instead of the cheap, waxy crayons and thin paper she scraped together from the dime store. Maybe, just maybe, if she picked up a few extra shifts at Grumbles. A glance at the clock jolted her. "All right, little miss, time to get a move on. Don't want to be late." The air in Grumbles' diner was thick with the scent of frying bacon and stale coffee. Lily May tied her apron tight, the familiar weight a comfort and a burden. Grumbles himself, a mountain of a man with a perpetually sour expression, grunted a greeting from behind the greasy grill. "Late, Lily May." "Again." She bit back a retort. Arguing with Grumbles was like arguing with a brick wall. "Sorry, Mr. Grumbles. Just getting Daisy ready for school." He just grumbled again and waved a dismissive hand. Lily May hurried to her station, a small section of the counter near the window. She plastered on a smile, the kind she'd perfected over years of serving grumpy truckers and gossiping housewives. "Mornin', Earl! Usual coffee and a Danish?" She greeted a regular, her voice warm and genuine despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. Earl, a retired farmer with a face like weathered leather, beamed. "Mornin', Lily May. You're a sight for sore eyes, darlin'. And yes, the usual, please." As she poured his coffee, Lily May's gaze drifted out the window, toward the distant, rolling hills. She imagined Daisy, years from now, not stuck in this small town, not limited by their circumstances. She saw her in a bright studio, surrounded by canvases and paints, her art hanging in galleries, filling rooms with color and joy. A scholarship, maybe, to a fancy art school in a big city. No more scraping by, no more worrying about bills. Just Daisy, free to create. The image was so vivid, so real, it brought a lump to her throat. A harsh clatter of plates brought her back to reality. Mr. Grumbles was glaring at her. "Less daydreaming, Lily May, more serving!" She flushed, mumbled an apology, and hurried to take another order, the weight of her dreams, and the reality of her life, settling heavy on her shoulders. Mr. Grumbles' gripes. The bell's chime above the door yanked Lily from a fleeting reverie of Daisy's endearing, gapped smile. A momentary lean against the counter to soothe her aching back, and already Mr. Grumbles was upon her, a gathering storm. "Harding! Loafing again, are we?" His voice, a rasp that could sandblast concrete, soured the air around the milkshake machine. "This isn't a flophouse, you know. Patrons to serve, grounds to keep shipshape." Lily straightened, heat blooming in her cheeks. "Just a breather, Mr. Grumbles. We've been slammed." "Slammed is for those who actually put in a shift." He snapped back, his beady eyes narrowed in suspicion. A sweep of a knobby finger indicated a table strewn with discarded condiments and crumpled paper. "Table 4's a disaster zone. Hop to it." Lily swallowed the sharp retort that threatened to escape. Arguing was futile, it only worsened the situation. More importantly, this job was essential. Daisy depended on it. As she cleared the sticky surface, she glimpsed Marlene and Earl, fellow servers, sharing a smoke and laughter by the dumpster. High schoolers, both, and seemingly immune to Mr. Grumble's ire. Perhaps he simply expected less. She sighed, banishing the thought. Comparison was a joy thief, Mama's voice echoed. Back inside, Mr. Grumbles gestured toward a teetering mountain of grimy cookware beside the sink. And after that, Harding, get those scoured. The floor's a swamp again, too. Looks like folks are tracking half the county in here. A wave of nausea coursed through Lily. She'd already mopped it twice. Instead, she nodded, forcing a smile. Yes, Mr. Grumbles. The usual comforting symphony of clattering plates and sizzling grease felt like an oppressive assault tonight. Each new task from Grumbles felt like another stone placed upon her spirit. She pictured Daisy, her eyes shining with trust, and the image gave her a spark of resolve. She had to endure. She had to persevere. Plunging her hands into the scalding, soapy water, she attacked a burnt casserole dish, clinging to small mercies. The tips were decent, and Mrs. Peterson, the tuna melt regular, had offered a kind smile that morning. Tiny victories, she reminded herself. They had to suffice. But as Mr. Grumble's shadow loomed over the sink, his tone thick with disapproval, Lily felt a familiar anxiety clench her insides. Don't you go wasting water, Harding. Flows aren't free, you understand. Crumbs of worry. The bell above the door of Grumblington's general store jingled, announcing Lily's arrival. She wiped her damp hands on her apron, the flour dusting her faded dress like powdered sugar. The scent of stale licorice and sawdust hung heavy in the air, a familiar comfort despite the knot of dread tightening in her stomach. She'd been called to Mr. Grumble's office, a cramped space crammed with dusty ledgers and the lingering aroma of pipe tobacco, first thing this Tuesday morning. Harding! Mr. Grumbles barked, not bothering to look up from a stack of papers that seemed to reach the ceiling. His jowls quivered with each word. Come in, come in! Don't just stand there letting the flies in. Lily shuffled inside, her worn shoes barely making a sound on the warped floorboards. He finally glanced up, his eyes narrowed and beady. Sit! Lily perched on the edge of the offered chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The chair groaned in protest. Business is slow, he began, his voice raspy like sandpaper. Very slow. Expenses, Harding, are eating me alive. Therefore, reductions. Starting next week, your hours are cut down to 3 days. 3 days. The words echoed in Lily's head, each syllable a hammer blow. 3 days wouldn't even cover the rent, let alone groceries. Daisy needed new shoes, and winter was coming. She swallowed hard, trying to keep the panic from rising. Mr. Grumbles, I don't know what I'm going to do. Her voice was barely a whisper. He shrugged, a dismissive gesture that sent a puff of dust swirling from his threadbare waistcoat. Not my problem. Take it or leave it. Plenty more where you came from. Lily stood, defeated. The general store suddenly felt colder, the familiar scent of licorice now acrid and suffocating. She mumbled a thank you, though the words felt like a betrayal of her own desperation. Back in the main store, Lily tried to focus on restocking the shelves, the colorful jars of candy mocking her with their unattainable sweetness. How was she going to explain this to Daisy? Unbeknownst to Lily, Daisy was behind the magazine rack, hidden from view. She had come to the store to surprise her mother with a drawing she had made. She overheard Mr. Grumble's booming voice as the office door was slightly ajar. Single mothers, Mr. Grumbles was saying, his voice dripping with disdain. Always trouble. Always late. Always needing something. Should have thought about that before she popped out a kid she can't afford. Dragging down my business she is. Daisy's breath hitched. Her small hands clenched into fists. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood the venom in his voice. She knew, with a child's unerring instinct, that he was talking about her mother, and that he thought they were a burden. A wave of fear washed over her, cold and sharp. Were they going to lose their home? Would they have to go hungry? Silent tears streamed down her face, mingling with the colors of the magazines. The drawing she held, once a symbol of her love for her mother, now felt heavy and tainted with worry. She crept away, unnoticed, the crumbs of Mr. Grumble's cruel words settling deep within her heart. A rainy day patron. The sky, which had been a bruised purple all afternoon, finally cracked open. Rain lashed against the windows of Grumble's diner, blurring the neon sign outside into a hazy, distorted glow. Inside, the rhythmic drumming of the downpour on the tin roof amplified Lily May's already jittery nerves. Daisy was homesick, a hacking cough rattling her small frame, and Lily May had called in a favor from Mrs. Henderson next door to watch her. Favors that needed returning. The bell above the door jingled, announcing a new arrival. Lily May, wiping her damp hands on her apron, plastered on a smile. A tall man, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, shook the rain from his wide-brimmed hat. He wore a long, black coat that dripped onto the linoleum floor, leaving a small puddle. "Evenin'," he rumbled, his voice a low, comforting baritone. He removed his hat, revealing a face etched with lines of kindness and weariness. There was something familiar about him, something that tugged at Lily May's memory. "Welcome to Grumble's," she said, her voice a little breathy. "Find yourself a seat. Anywhere's good. It's a slow night, thanks to this deluge." He nodded, his eyes scanning the near-empty diner. He chose a booth in the back, away from the windows, and slid in, the vinyl seat groaning beneath his weight. Lily May grabbed a menu, her heart doing a little flutter. He had kind eyes. "Can I get you something to drink while you look over the menu?" she asked, approaching the booth. "Coffee," he said, his gaze meeting hers. "Black. Strong." Lily May poured him a cup from the pot that had been simmering on the burner all afternoon. She brought it to his table, the aroma of the stale brew filling the air. "Anything else I can get for you?" He took a sip, his face betraying nothing. "What's good here?" Lily May hesitated. Honesty was always her policy, even if it hurt business. "Well, the patty melt used to be Mr. Grumble's specialty, but things have changed." She couldn't bring herself to say more, couldn't air the diner's dirty laundry to a stranger. He seemed to sense her reluctance. "I'll take your recommendation," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Whatever you think is best." Lily May swallowed, a lump forming in her throat. "I'll bring you a bowl of chili," she said. "It's hearty." She turned to go, her worries about Daisy and Mrs. Henderson and the dwindling tips tonight pressing down on her. "Miss?" She turned back, her brow furrowed. "Name's John," he said, extending a hand. "John Cash." Lily May's eyes widened. John Cash. Johnny Cash. The man in black. He was even bigger than she thought. She shook his hand, her palm tingling. "Lily May Harding," she managed, her voice barely a whisper. It's an honor, Mr. Cash." He chuckled, a warm, genuine sound that cut through the drumming rain. "Please call me John. And the honor's all mine, Lily May." He released her hand, his gaze lingering on her face for a moment longer than necessary. "You got a good smile, Lily May. Don't let the rain wash it away," the man in black observes. The bell above the hardware store door chimed, heralding another arrival into the Saturday morning throng. Lily May Harding, teetering on a ladder as she wrestled a roll of chicken wire from a high shelf, nearly pitched forward. "Blast it, girl! Trying to send me to an early grave?" Mr. Grumbles bellowed from the counter, his complexion apoplectic. "Get down here and see to that customer. I'm drowning in nails over here." Flustered, Lily May mumbled an apology and carefully descended, her cheeks aflame. The customer, a stout figure in denim overalls, cleared his throat with a rumble. She plastered on a smile and hurried to his aid, the chicken wire momentarily forgotten. Across the street, Johnny Cash leaned against his dusty Cadillac, a tepid coffee from the diner warming his hands. He was savoring the lull before his evening concert. His gaze snagged on the hardware store, captivated by the sun-faded yellow paint. He'd observed Lily May, her dark hair bound in a pragmatic ponytail, moving with quiet purpose. Now, He watched as Mr. Grumbles, his face a perpetual mask of discontent, chided her for some minor offense. A frown creased Cash's brow. The old man's tone possessed a biting edge that rubbed him the wrong way. He noticed the subtle droop of Lily May's shoulders as the reprimand landed, the brief glimpse of vulnerability in her eyes before she masked it with practiced cheer. He watched her navigate the packed aisles, attending to customers with unflagging patience, guiding them to the precise screw, the ideal tomato fertilizer. She was a dynamo of helpfulness, each gesture precise and efficient. Yet, beneath the surface, Cash detected a weariness that belied her youth. He saw it in the delicate pressure she applied to her temples as she assisted a demanding woman who scrutinized every hammer on display. He saw it again as she rang up a purchase for a young boy, her smile genuine as she praised his selection of a scarlet kite. But even that fleeting moment of brightness couldn't fully dispel the shadow in her gaze. Cash recognized that look. He'd witnessed it etched on the faces of countless souls struggling against the odds, battling a world that seemed unfairly tilted against them. Mr. Grumbles, meanwhile, continued to scowl at Lily May from behind the counter, a stream of low mutterings escaping his lips. Cash didn't need to hear the words to grasp the sentiment. It was evident the old man held her in scant regard. A familiar heat rose within Cash, a visceral reaction to injustice and unkindness. He drained his coffee, the lukewarm liquid now tasting acrid. He pushed away from the Cadillac, the resolution hardening in his gut. He couldn't remain a passive observer. Justice served with coffee. The bell above the door jingled a weary welcome as Johnny entered Harding's Hardware. The air hung thick with the scent of sawdust and motor oil, a smell that always reminded him of his daddy's workshop. Behind the counter, Lily May Harding looked even more worn than the linoleum floor. Her eyes, usually bright as bluebells, were shadowed with fatigue, and her shoulders slumped under the weight of a faded denim shirt. "Mornin', Lily May," Johnny said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate the dust motes dancing in the sunlight. She managed a weak smile. "Mr. Cash. What can I get for you today?" "Just a coffee, darlin'. And maybe a kind word, if you got one to spare." She poured him a cup from the perpetually warm pot, the liquid dark and bitter. He took a slow sip, savoring the warmth as it spread through him. "Rough day?" Lily sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. "You have no idea. Mr. Grumbles is on the warpath again. Says I'm not pulling my weight because I have to leave early to pick up Billy from school." Johnny's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He'd seen Mr. Grumbles, the owner, barking orders and generally making life miserable for everyone. He remembered his own days of struggling, of working dawn to dusk to make ends meet, and a familiar ache resonated in his chest. "Sometimes people forget what it's like to walk in another man's shoes," he said softly. "Or a woman's." Lily looked at him, surprised. "You understand?" "Honey, I've been there. Believe me, I understand." He met her gaze, his own eyes filled with a quiet strength. "You're a good woman, Lily May. Don't let anyone tell you different." He set down his coffee cup, the ceramic clinking softly against the counter. "Now you just keep your chin up. Things have a way of working themselves out." He left a $5 bill on the counter, far more than the coffee cost, and walked towards the back of the store, ostensibly to browse the gardening tools. But really, he was looking for a bit of privacy. He pulled out his phone, flipped it open, and punched in a number he knew by heart. "Earl? Johnny Cashier. Got a little situation brewing down at Harding's Hardware. Seems like someone needs a reminder about fair labor practices." "Yeah, that's right, Mr. Grumbles himself. Think you could pay him a little visit?" "I'd appreciate it, Earl. And tell him Johnny Cash sends his regards." He paused, listening to the response on the other end. A slow smile spread across his face. "That's my boy, Earl. Justice served with a side of Southern hospitality. You take care now." He snapped the phone shut and slipped it back into his pocket. He walked back to the counter, gave Lily May another reassuring smile, and tipped his head. "You have a good day now, darlin'." As he walked out into the sunshine, He couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get a whole lot brighter for Lily May Harding. And for Mr. Grumbles, well, he was about to learn a valuable lesson. Sometimes, even the smallest acts of kindness could make the biggest difference. Confrontation at the counter. The bell above the door to Grumbles' diner jingled, a sound that usually grated on Eugene Grumblington's nerves. Today, it felt like an ominous toll. He glanced up from wiping down the already spotless counter and froze. It was him. The man in black himself, Johnny Cash, stood framed in the doorway, his presence filling the small space. Beside him stood a woman in a sharp, navy blue suit, carrying a briefcase that looked heavier than Mr. Grumbles' weekly profits. Lily May almost dropped the coffee pot. Her hand trembled as she set it down, the glass clinking against the warmer. She hadn't expected this. Hadn't dared to hope. Cash's gaze swept the diner, settling on Mr. Grumbles with an intensity that made the old man's stomach churn. "Mornin', Mr. Grumblington," Cash said, his voice a low rumble that resonated even in the close confines of the diner. "I believe we need to have a little talk." Mr. Grumbles puffed out his chest, attempting a bravado he didn't feel. "About what?" "I ain't got time for idle chit-chat. Got a business to run." He deliberately avoided looking at Lily May, who was now pointedly polishing the salt and pepper shakers. "This concerns your business practices, sir," the woman in the suit interjected, her voice crisp and professional. "My name is Eleanor Vance, and I'm representing Lily May Harding." Mr. Grumbles snorted. "Representing? Representing what?" "She's lucky to have a job here at all." Cash stepped forward, his eyes never leaving Grumbles. "Mr. Grumblington, I understand Lily May has been subjected to less than ideal working conditions. Unfair wage deductions, discriminatory remarks. Is this correct?" Mr. Grumbles sputtered, his face turning a mottled red. "Now hold on just a minute. I treat all my employees the same. Fair and square. She's just sensitive. Can't take a little ribbing." He risked a quick glance at Lily May, whose head was bowed. "Ribbing?" Cash's voice hardened, the friendly drawl replaced by a steel edge. "Calling a woman trailer trash and docking her pay for taking time off when her child is sick is not ribbing, Mr. Grumblington. It's harassment. It's illegal. And it's plain wrong." Ms. Vance opened her briefcase and produced a thick file. "We have documented instances of these offenses, Mr. Grumblington. Witness testimonies, payroll records. We're prepared to pursue legal action if necessary." Mr. Grumbles' bluster deflated. He wrung his hands behind the counter, the picture of a cornered rat. I didn't mean anything by it. Just a little, old-fashioned humor. Lily May knows I didn't mean any harm." Lily May finally looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and exhaustion. "No, Mr. Grumbles," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know that at all. A change of heart and policy." The lawyer, her gaze a shard of ice, slapped the depositions onto Mr. Grumbles' desk. "Sworn testimonies, Mr. Grumblingerton. A mosaic of discrimination, past and present, all focused on Lily May Harding's reduced hours. A reduction that conveniently followed your reservations about her family's situation." A flush crept up Mr. Grumbles' neck, staining his cheeks plum-colored. Balderdash. Conjecture. He flicked at the documents as if shooing away wasps. Johnny Cash, a silent sentinel against the doorframe, remained unreadable. Only when his eyes found Lily May did a flicker of empathy soften his features. He saw the lines of weariness deeply etched around her eyes, stealing her youth. "Conjecture, you say?" The lawyer's voice sliced through the air, sharp and precise. "Perhaps. But these circumstances, when viewed together, form a damning indictment of your managerial style. And we also have witnesses prepared to corroborate your insensitive remarks regarding Ms. Harding's personal life." Mr. Grumbles' fleshy face quivered. He darted glances between the lawyer and Johnny Cash, seeking some avenue of escape. The air in the room hung heavy, a suffocating blanket. Then a shift. Johnny Cash pushed off the doorframe. Each step, A distinct thud against the polished floor amplified the tension. Mr. Grumblington. His voice, a deep rumble, cut through the stillness. Lily May gives her all. She's reliable, steadfast. She deserves basic human decency. He halted before the desk, casting the older man in shadow. I'm asking you to make this right. Apologize to Lily May. Restore her hours, and compensate her fairly. Mr. Grumbles swallowed hard, his throat working visibly. The looming specter of a lawsuit, the potential for his discriminatory practices to become front-page news, the thought was a vice around his chest. He saw his reputation, his carefully constructed facade of civic responsibility, about to crumble into dust. Fine, he mumbled, barely audible. He averted his gaze from Lily May. Her hours, they'll be what they were. And a token raise. Nothing extravagant. Johnny Cash's expression remained unchanged. Fair compensation, Mr. Grumblington. Enough to acknowledge the hardship and indignity you've inflicted. Enough to ensure she doesn't have to choose between groceries and keeping the roof over her family's head. Mr. Grumble's face twisted in resentment. He loathed being cornered. The thought of relinquishing even a penny more was galling. But he recognized the inevitable. Fine, he hissed, the word dripping with venom. A decent raise. And I apologize, Miss Harding, for any inconvenience I may have caused. Lily May looked at him, her eyes reflecting disbelief. It was a meager offering, but it was a start. For now, it sufficed. A fragile bud of optimism unfurled within her burdened spirit. Hope blooms anew. The apology tasted like ashes in Mr. Grumble's mouth. He mumbled it, eyes darting everywhere but at Lily, then cleared his throat and actually looked at her. And a raise, Miss Harding. $2 an hour. $2. Lily blinked. It wasn't just about the money, though that was a mountain compared to the molehill she'd been scraping by on. It was about being seen, being valued. A wave of relief so profound it almost knocked her off her feet washed over her. She managed a shaky, "Thank you, Mr. Grumbles." He grunted in response, already shuffling back towards his office, a relieved man escaping a firing squad. That evening, Lily practically danced through their tiny apartment, scooping Daisy into a hug that made the little girl giggle. $2, Daisy Bug! That means we can maybe get you that new pair of shoes, the ones that don't have holes. Daisy's eyes widened. Really, Mama? The red ones? The red ones? Lily confirmed, twirling her around. They ordered pizza, a rare and extravagant treat, and ate it sitting on the floor, crumbs be damned. After Daisy was asleep, Lily sat at the kitchen table, a single candle flickering, and started a budget. With the extra money, she could afford daycare a few days a week. Maybe even start saving a little. A future, hazy before, began to take shape, solidifying with each careful calculation. The next morning, Daisy, sporting her new red shoes, skipped alongside Lily, her earlier anxiety replaced with a lightness that mirrored Lily's own. At the diner, Daisy helped clear tables, her small hands surprisingly efficient. As they walked home, Lily broached an idea that had been simmering in her mind since her talk with Johnny Cash. Daisy, honey, there are other mommies like me, aren't there? Mommies who work hard but still have a tough time. Daisy nodded solemnly. Like Mrs. Peterson down the street? Exactly like Mrs. Peterson. What if we invited them over? Just for coffee and cookies? We could talk, help each other out. Daisy's face lit up. Like a club, Mama? A mommy club? The following week, Lily and Daisy, armed with a pot of coffee and a plate of Daisy's misshapen but enthusiastic cookies, welcomed 3 other single mothers into their small apartment. Mrs. Peterson, a tired woman with kind eyes, Sarah, a teenager barely older than Daisy, juggling school and motherhood, and Maria, a recent immigrant struggling with English. They talked about childcare, job opportunities, the never-ending cycle of laundry and bills. Lily shared her experience with Mr. Grumbles, and the women listened intently, offering words of support and encouragement. Maria, surprisingly, had an idea for a cooperative babysitting circle. Sarah knew a woman who was looking for help with cleaning houses. As the afternoon wore on, the air, thick with cigarette smoke and shared anxieties, also crackled with a fragile hope. Lily watched them, these weary but resilient women, and felt a warmth spread through her. It wasn't much, just a few hours of connection, a shared space of understanding. But it was a start. It was a seed planted, watered by their collective strength, and Lily knew, with a certainty that warmed her from the inside out, that it would bloom. Johnny Cash's quiet act of kindness had rippled outward, creating a small but powerful wave of change, washing over their little corner of the world.